Right, small press. So on our panel today, we have Dave White from Avery Hill.
Hello.
Hello. Dan Berry.
Hi.
And Rachael Smith. Okay, so we're going to...
Hello. Didn't know we were doing that.
It's going to be just a small press-centric first half an hour or so is going to be questions from me, with answers hopefully from them that are a little bit more winded than yes or no. And then we'll hand it over to yourself. So everyone think of a question, because I'll be coming to everyone. There's only 4 of you. Not if you don't want it. Okay, so in the small press has ballooned up and has become a huge thing recently, isn't it? I think we're all aware of that. I was small pressing in the 90s, and there was probably 5 or 6 people at Bristol who would appear, and you'd always see the same faces. There was the 2000 AD, there was always the 2000 AD magazine-ish and all this sort of thing. Anyway, so it's ballooned up now. So the first question to the panel, I'll start with you, Dave. So creating comics yourself, which is what you guys do, is no mean feat. What made you start doing it?
It all starts, and I guess it's the same for everyone with a lifelong love of comics.
Okay.
Starting with Beano, Dandy, Wizard, Chips, the Beezer, etc., going up through, things like Roy the Rovers and licensed stuff like Transformers, and then 2000 AD, and then I think I found in a newsagent's a copy of Uncanny X-Men 247. I think was the first one I bought. Yeah. So and just building through that. Then after kind of Image lost the first kind of wave of Image,
yep,
kind of ran out of steam. I actually kind of went away from comics for a while, and then got back into it around. I think it was Civil War, the first Good, yeah. Marvel Civil War.
Was that 2000 around about then?
Probably around then,
yeah.
and it was just going back into comic shops and starting to see stuff that wasn't kind of the big companies, and starting to see self-published stuff and small press stuff, and it really just opened my eyes to what's out there, and the amount of incredible creators that are making their own stuff. Around the same time, I started making a zine as well.
Okay.
And self-publishing that with some friends, and kind of the conjunction of making stuff ourselves, finding other stuff by other people, meeting people through that, kind of finding out, just dropping them an email saying, really love your work and stuff, and it just kind of snowballed from there. You start to meet, the kind of people that are in that community, and it's. I hope the guys would say the same, but it's an incredibly supportive and close-knit community, and then coupled with a realisation that it's actually really easy to get stuff out with the software that's available now, that you can just download it and do it all yourself. Printing's never been cheaper if you find the right printer, and so I think bringing all those things together and realising the amazing talent that's out there, the fact that it's not that difficult to actually produce physical copies of work, underpinned by just the love of comics as a medium, it just kind of snowballed, and we started meeting more people, started putting more work out. It was working.
Right.
People liked it, and we've just carried on from there.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. So Dan, you started in 1973 making small press? Was it around that time?
Around that time, yeah.
So he didn't. That's a lie.
No, that's not true at all.
How did you get started, mate? How did it start?
I think, similarly to Dave, I when I was a kid, I'd read the Beano and the Dandy. My big brother Tim would read the Beano and I'd read the Dandy, obviously. I mean, that's just... It's
baseline.
It's just common knowledge. That's just the way it is. If you've got a character called Dan on the front cover, the kid called Dan, that's his comic. So that was my comic. That was it.
We need more Jordan-related comics now, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And we... And so, I was always really interested in Asterix and Tintin. My mum had worked for a time in Belgium, so she came back from Belgium when she was pregnant, I think, with my older brother, with a bunch of these European children's books. And they were all in French, and I couldn't understand a word of them, but I really liked looking at the pictures, and we got into Tintin and Asterix from there. And then when I became a teenager and was way too cool for anything else, I had a bunch of friends that were into comics, and they had this book that said how much everything was worth. And I remember feeling like comics at that point was a closed door to me, because you couldn't jump into this arc of X-Men at any one point. You needed to know so many things before you could get into the story. So I fell out of comics. You know, and I was in bands and all sorts for a time. Music was the thing that I did for a long time. We used to make videos for the bands that we were in and for other bands as well. And so I got really interested in like the storytelling side of, you know, video making. So I wanted to make films, wanted to tell stories with film. And then realized that when you do that, you've got so many other people to try and coordinate. It's like a big bag of ferrets, really difficult to wrestle. And so I kind of came back into drawing, because I was always quite good at drawing. And so I was drawing what I didn't really know what they were, but now I'd call them mini comics. And what I would do, because I didn't really, again, that the comic industry was a closed door. You know, if you go into a comic shop, you didn't know what you were looking at, and I didn't feel like I could find a way in. So the place that sold the books that I liked was Waterstones. And so I'd take these little mini comics and I'd slide them into the books that I liked in Waterstones, because I didn't know any better at all. I didn't realize that there was an industry, certainly a small press industry. So I think in around...
Did you ever get any feedback from that? Did you ever, I know you've told me about this before, did you
Yes.
ever get anyone say...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was friends of mine who I said, oh, you've got to read this book, it's great. And they go and buy it, and they're like, did you go and put some stuff in these books? I was like, God, it wasn't for you. It was for the Jonathan
Proper
Cape.
public, yeah.
Jonathan Cape himself was going to come in and publish me. Idiots.
Put it back.
Put it back. Go and put it back in your favourite book now. So I was kind of young and naive, and then I just kind of haven't stopped. Basically, that seems to be it. Longevity in comics seems to be all based on not stopping doing it.
Cool. What about you, Rachel? As clearly the youngest person on the panel, how did you get started? What made you get started?
Yeah, a little bit similar to Dan, I think. I kind of, I liked comics as a kid and then sort of, didn't read them as a teenager. I got my first comic I got into was Sonic the Comic,
Right.
Which I believe Lou Stringer worked on
He did,
for a
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
sadly
shame
not-
that he's not.
He's cancelled today,
He's not
sadly,
here,
but he
yeah.
did. A lot of people have worked on Sonic. It's quite
Yeah.
So
Oh,
just-
really? And yeah, I remember being so excited for those comics coming out. And I remember as a kid getting them on the way home from school and then walking home with my dad. And by the time I got home, I was like shaking. I was so excited to read this comic. So so I knew that they were great. And then I think I kind of I think I had some kind of prejudices about comics as I got older. I just thought they were superheroes. And those kind of stories don't really turn me on at all. I'm just
Right,
like,
okay.
And then kind of when Scott Pilgrim came out, the penny sort of dropped then. I was like, oh, you could just tell any story with these. It's fine. It's just another way of telling a story. And then I kind of got back into comics after that. And yeah, a little bit, it kind of felt like a closed door to me as well, because I thought it was just kind of Marvel and DC and Oni, and they were all sort of, I had no idea how to talk to these people. And then I had a few friends that were into comics as well, and they were like, well, you can just do it yourself. You can just like draw a comic and then get the local printers around the corner to print it. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I did, and like Dad, I've just not stopped since I did that.
Well, that leads into my next question, which I don't know if you wanted to continue on this, Rachel, but
Sure.
Who did you go to? So you had some friends who gave you some advice. Is there anyone you looked to, you thought, oh, I like what they're doing, or I like what he's doing, I'll emulate them, or I'll get some advice from them? Was anyone like that for you?
John Allison was a huge, I just wanted to
Giant Days.
be him.
I'd second that as well.
Okay.
John was a huge pile of knowledge that he let me rummage around in.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, still does.
Right, okay.
He's great. If you don't love John Allison, you're an idiot.
Everyone read Giant Days? Anyone? Yeah?
Scary Go Round, Bobbins, Bad Machinery, the list goes on.
And he's been about for a while. People forget how he's actually been about for well over a decade in the small press.
Oh, he started webcomics in like 95.
Oh, okay.
I think he was one of the first British people to make a full-time living off the back of webcomics.
Really? I never realised that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's huge in the States.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. He's did he win? He's just won an award or just been nominated for one, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, Giant Days was nominated for an Eisner.
Eisner, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was mine. Just saying.
Now, Dave, as a publisher stroke editor, we've talked about this before on the podcast we've got, because you've got a specific person you look to for your style of editing, didn't you? It was the record producer guy.
Yeah, that's right, actually. It's Anthony Wilson, who ran Factory Records in Manchester and worked with Joy Division and New Order and so on. And they had a really, it was just all about the creators. And less as an editing style, perhaps, because we still work closely with our creators as needed.
With your people, you know.
Try not to.
Yeah.
Try not to.
No
occasionally,
contracts written in blood.
We've not gone there yet. But more the approach to working with creators you trust to just make the books that they want to make. So that kind of is the ethos that underpins how we try and approach our output. Probably from a kind of gaining knowledge point of view, ours was probably slightly different in that we're working with creators. We're probably going through that process already.
Yeah.
For us, it was about actually producing the books we wanted to the quality and standard we wanted to make. We tried a few different printers, and some are quite helpful, some aren't so helpful, and it's a bit of trial and error. But we do a lot of work with a guy called Rich Hardiman now, who runs a company called Comic Print in UK, does a huge amount of books, probably a good amount that's out there today. And he was incredibly helpful in educating me in how to prepare the print files and how to put everything together so that we're going to get the output that we wanted, because that's a big part of our role in the process. We ask our creators to trust us in putting their work out in the best way possible.
Rich is spoken very highly of. I mean,
has
anyone in the
yeah.
audience printed a book with Rich at all, or no? He's very popular amongst small press at the moment, and he really does know what he's doing, doesn't he?
And he does, and he knows that. I mean, that's part of the service you're getting with Rich, and he did it in a really helpful way as well. It was, next time try and do this, and this will help, and it's just that accumulation of knowledge. So yeah, probably a little bit different. It was around the technical aspects that we needed to get a bit more.
Okay.
And then as we've gone on and met more people, talking to publishers like Self-Made Hero and Myriad and so on, they're all really helpful as well. It's all really supportive and just finding our way as we go.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's not a dog-eat-dog game at the moment, is it?
I don't
see it. Yeah, as a reviewer, I don't see it certainly. Okay, so you've made your book, you've got it ready. It's you're filling up your hallway at home in boxes. How do you feel about sending it out to people to get their opinion? Rachel, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that a lot of creators get really nervous about. I actually worked in PR before I started doing comics, so I was like on it with that. I looked at who was reviewing what. I looked at creators that I thought were similar to me and saw who had reviewed them, and picked up all that on the internet, and then made a list and just sent. I sent like hard copies of the book where I could, but if I didn't have an address, then I'd send a PDF. But yeah, I mean, there's no point making something and then just sitting on it. You've got to, and getting reviews and previews and stuff like that is the best way.
I mean, do you have a policy around there's certain people you trust their opinion? But the problem with making a comic is you'll ask 10 people that all give you a different opinion, won't they?
Sure.
Do you have like a little series of people, even before the review copies go out, do you go to people and say, I mean, I know your partner Adam's a comic maker. Do you go to him? Do you trust him?
Oh, to sort of tell me if I've made a rubbish thing?
Yeah.
I mean, sure. I have a few friends that I kind of bounce ideas off, like through the whole process as well. And Ricky and Dave, when I was doing the books with them, I always send the script and trust their opinion and as editors. But my self-published stuff is probably just me and Adam.
Okay.
And maybe
that's
my
enough,
mum,
isn't it?
if she's got time.
Yeah, my cat's got a low opinion. I'm not What about you, Dan? So you've got that book prepared. What's the next step for you? Finished it. Do you send books out to review sites, or do you?
Generally not. I did do to begin with. I'd send, because I'm very proud of the quality of the production I do with the books that I do. And I think when I started and nobody knew who I was very desperate for everyone to see, and everyone, please, 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 look at me, look at me, look at me. But I think that there's something very British about feeling that that's distasteful.
Yeah.
That whole.
We don't talk about money in Britain, doing that sort of thing. I think it's similar.
Yeah, I mean, working freelance, you end up being quite comfortable talking about it because you need that money. You've got to get it. I'm really happy if I make lots of money. I'd like more. If anyone wants to buy my books, please do. Would love that. The way I approached kind of marketing myself and the work that I do, I'm really happy chatting to people. I like talking. I was asked to run some panels in a show in Birmingham in 2012, and that then sort of evolved into the podcast I do called Make It Then Tell Everybody.
Very good podcast, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it wasn't the intention at the time, but the way that it's kind of evolved is I'll be able to get in touch with my heroes, like from, the people who would inspire me very early on and say, do you fancy chatting to me for about an hour or so? And then all of those people whose work I really love, all of their fans then listen to that and then get to listen to me talking for an hour as well.
Right.
And so I'm basically being dragged along by other people's coattails, I think.
Oh, okay, it's interesting.
It
doesn't come across that way, I've got to say.
It's a thing that's gained momentum, and it's a side effect of the podcast. A very, very welcome side effect as well, because I literally spent hours talking to my heroes. It's great, just rummaging around inside their brains. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So it's been very, very useful for me, kind of getting a masterclass each week from these giants, but also then that sort of associated. I don't want to use the marketing word, but it's kind of associated marketing then.
Okay,
it's like,
right, okay.
I get sort of tarred with the same brush.
I get
a very lovely brush.
Yeah, we're judged by the company we keep, aren't we?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
That's the bottom line with Alex, to be fair. Now, Dave, you've recently, or probably just over a year ago, taken on a marketing officer, haven't you? Why did you come to that decision, and how did you approach it?
Originally, I'd set up Avery Hill with a real old friend of mine, guy Ricky Miller, and we were doing it ourselves. And we've got day jobs, and we were doing everything around it. Probably the growth that we could see, and the interest in the books and the creators we were working with, and so on, was outpacing our ability and our time to put to it. In a way we wanted to, and a big part of what, again, another one of our commitments to our creators is we take that kind of PR stuff off their hands to a certain extent. It only really works if everyone's involved, but that kind of Britishness of talking yourself up and telling everyone you're great, it can be difficult to keep up all the time. It's a lot easier to get someone else to do that on your behalf, and so that's something we do.
I don't know, some people pull it off.
Some people are great. It's massively important. So there's a relatively small number of reviewers and dedicated sites that will work with small press in the UK. All extremely hard work. Obviously Tony, you do some, and people like Andy Oliver at Broken Frontier and Richard Bruton at Forbidden Planet International, all doing huge amounts of hard work, but still haven't got that critical mass. And we wanted to start getting into the States because that's a massive market, and you can really start to, if you can hit that and get success there, it's exponentially far and away above what we get in the UK. So we needed to put some more time to that, and we couldn't do it ourselves, and we felt we were letting our creators down if we weren't doing it properly. So we brought someone in, Kat Chapman, to handle that for us.
Can I just say she's very good?
She's very good,
yeah, she's incredible. Yeah. So we kind of sat down and thought about who would be able to do that role in a way we wanted to, and B, who we'd be happy to work with. And we kind of both wrote a pretty short list each, and Kat was at the top of both of them. So,
and she's also a very accomplished creator herself.
She's an incredible creator, yeah. She really is. She's a wonderful artist and writer. Katzine is her current self-published project, and I'd encourage you all to look at it. It's really the expansion and keeping pace with what we needed to do and what we needed to to fulfil our commitments to our creators, and also, you know, take advantage of what we could do as a business and the way we grow.
I mean, we often call it the Avery Hill model, if anyone listens to the podcast I'm on, which now, let me see if it's true. Meet a creator, take them to the pub, talk them into making a book, release a book. That's kind of the scale that it goes.
I reckon that's probably about 80% of the business.
Brilliant, good.
And there is a reason for that.
You've got to like the people you work with, haven't you? Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah, definitely.
It certainly helps. So that we need to build a relationship as we edit the books as well.
Yeah.
You need to build that relationship to make sure that process is going to be as healthy and fruitful as possible. So yeah, you know, go out, have a shandy and see what we can do.
Okay. Well, one more question before we open it up to the audience. So if anyone's got a question, let's start with you, Dave. Then, what keeps you going? What keeps you going? Because you've been going 2, 3, 4 years now.
Yeah, probably approaching 4 years in degrees of size. You get kind of the down points when you're working on a project before you put it out, and no one sees what's going on in that time. It's all kind of behind the scenes. But we're getting pages and pages of incredible work from our creators during that time. So just getting those emails and just seeing that work come in is incredibly energising, because and also knowing, you know, where it's going and how incredible it's going to be. And then you launch the book, and you know that's exciting as well. So it's kind of these phases of the book's life, and probably overarching all of it is just working with incredibly talented people.
Yeah.
And finding new people to work with, and working with people we've worked with before on new projects.
And that's a sort of buzz to it. You get
absolutely.
A buzz.
Yeah. And again, we'll only put a book out that we'd love to read ourselves.
Yeah.
So all the time we're working on a book, we're working on a project that we love. So that makes it really easy to keep going.
Brilliant. What about you, Dan? What keeps you going, mate? Because you've got a lawful lot of product out there, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. Well, I'm a restless child.
Right, okay.
I don't like not doing anything. I don't know what normal people do with their time.
Right.
Like I have zero idea what normal people do. When they go home and into their houses, I don't know what happens if you don't spend all evening drawing.
Right,
or,
okay.
you know, working on the computer or designing something, or I have no idea. I can't stop. I think the thing that motivated me to start was I really liked drawing, and I really liked, the people, in the industry as well, and I still do. That keeps me going. I get a great deal of personal pleasure. This is going to sound a little bit grubby, maybe. I get a great deal of personal pleasure from drawing. It's a really fun thing to do. If you've got a pen and a piece of paper, you're just never bored. And if you're easily bored, like I am, it's fine. I haven't been bored in years. Yeah. It's brilliant.
And it's a cheap game as well, if you just want to draw, isn't it?
Gosh, yeah. But it's my day job is teaching comics as well. I run a degree course in Wrexham in North Wales, where we teach comics and children's books. And if I'm not able to do that job, then I shouldn't be allowed to teach it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that if I ever sort of fall out of actually creating things, then I should probably not do that job anymore, because what integrity do I have if I can't do it myself? So that's a motivator. It's not the only one, but the ability to travel all around the planet and meet really interesting people. It's a charmed life.
And
absolutely,
Rachel, definitely, yeah. And Rachel, you've put quite a few books out recently. You're more than one a year at the moment, aren't you? Definitely, is that right?
At the minute, yeah.
Yeah. So what keeps you going? Is it encouragement, or do you pay attention to reviews, for example? Or something?
Oh yeah, no, getting a nice review is always really, really nice. I guess the fans, I suppose.
Okay.
What keeps me going?
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I did a show in Canada with Dan as well, and Avery Hill, all of us.
We were all in Canada.
We were all there.
I think we were on the same plane.
Yes, we were.
On the same plane.
Dave was in first class. You probably didn't see him.
Yeah, we
Lots of
didn't
plans way at the back.
That's working.
And I had what is possibly my career highlight.
All right.
Yeah, a little girl bought a copy of The Rabbit, and I had lots of books kind of in front of me, and I I always sketch in the books if people want me to. But because I had books in front of me, she couldn't see me, and she was also quite little, so she couldn't watch me draw. And I gave the book to her, and her mum paid me, and I saw her open the book and see the drawing, and just her face, she was so excited that I'd drawn, and she was just like, and then she went to show her mum, and her mum was like, oh yeah, that's great, oh, brilliant. And then she closed the book and she hugged it. And I was just like, and I was a little bit hungover, and I was like, I nearly cried, like in front of this little girl. I was just like, so that's like, that's why I make comics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like there's always guys with like loads of Doctor Who issues that they want me to just sign, and I'll sign like 20 of them, and I'm always pleased to see those guys, but they're not who I make comics for. I make comics for that little girl.
That's a great answer, yeah. Okay, so has anyone in the audience got a question? Oh, Nick in the back. Sorry, I don't know you, sir, in the back. Yeah, not planted. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully.
You hear a lot of people talk about the small press community. What does that mean to you?
Can I jump in on that one? I think when I started the podcast, I was really worried that it would be 30 episodes and then done, because I think at the time that I started, it felt small, and so the more people I've interviewed, the more I've realised that that little community that I started with is like an island in an ocean, and every other person has like this link or this bridge to another island, and so then you find that you're going exploring, you're like, holy cow, there's a whole continent of people over here. And so I think the podcast is up to like 130 something episodes, and I've interviewed 150 something people, and the more I do, the bigger I realise it is. And I think small press is kind of a diminutive term for it. I would want to call it independent publishing, because that's what we do, I think. But I find that the more I do, the more there is to do. It's this infinite feast in a bottomless pit. That sounds quite negative, but you get the idea.
Still getting my head around it. Yeah.
But it's really, really lovely, and then I don't like saying the word networking, because it's not networking. It's genuine friendships with people you genuinely like, and you can be cynical and call it networking and tapping into other people's target markets and blah, blah, blah. But it's genuinely a very friendly place. I think it's very nice.
Nice, cool. Okay, guys. We're almost out of time.
Sorry, I just completely.
No. Did you want to say something, Dave? Did you want to say something?
No, I've done.
Rachel?
That was you have a Patreon for making them tell everyone.
Yes, I do actually. Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. You have a Patreon too, don't you?
I do. Yes.
Oh, I think people should probably sign up for both, maybe. Don't know. Do you have a Patreon?
I will be after this.
Okay, okay. Coming soon. You heard it here first, folks.
Okay, so we've got just a couple more minutes left, so I'm just going to ask them one fun question, because they've been fun so far, let's face it. So you get to recreate a Marvel or DC character in your own style, your own, let's call it indie style. Who do you do? Dave?
From a publishing point of view,
Yeah.
It would be the New Mutants.
Oh, okay. Bob McLeod or Sinkovich? Or?
Straight away, yeah. So probably that first kind of 30 to 40 issues. The reason for that, I don't know if that's me, is that's the first title I've really got into and managed to kind of get #1 and work. And I think I completed the run in the end. And that was the first group of characters that I really connected with. Kind of younger characters. And I know some kind of cropped up in recent titles.
And Avengers and
but that was just a really that group of characters means something to me. So I'd like to bring that back together.
Yeah, it was a nice little family. There was no spin-offs. It ran 100 issues and stopped. It was a nice little title, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it lost its way towards the end with the
we had a bit of
Liefeld stuff. But no, that early run, especially the Sinkovich stuff, is just incredible.
Cool. Dan?
I think every time a new Spider-Man film comes out, it has to revisit the origin story
Oh, God,
of
it drives me
Spider-Man
mental.
over and over and over again. So I'd like to do that. There seems to be a lot of money in revisiting the Spider-Man origin story. So I'd do that.
Okay.
The origin of Dan Berry again.
Over and over and over and over.
Rachel?
I'd like to work on Squirrel Girl.
I know, and I've seen your
I
work on
love
Squirrel
her.
Girl, and it's brilliant. You should be working on Squirrel Girl. Yeah. If everyone pops by Rachel's table, she might give you a little teaser of some Squirrel Girl art, will you? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
If I can
so.
find it on my phone, yeah.
Good. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys. I hope everyone's enjoyed that. A little round of applause for Dave, Dan, and Rachel.